initial use cases, and Eyal just talked about being too early. We were way too early with no market basically. And then, we started seeing people all around the world starting to issue those community currencies. And for me, I never heard about that. Like, I had no idea what it is. I knew that Eyal is starting to look at it, and he's got like this company called AppCoin. So I met with Eyal, and he told me like, hey, listen, like, this is a market. There is something like that happening. I started, traveling around the world, interviewed maybe every group that ever issued kind of a community currency, and I fell in love, with what it is and what does it mean and how it can impact communities in terms of economics or social change, etc. And I transformed, basically, pivoted COLU into dealing with local currencies, which was exactly what Eyal was doing at the same time, just a little bit different, but that's at the same space, yeah?
When I started with no blockchain and moved to the blockchain, you started from the blockchain and moved out of the blockchain.
So now basically what is Lezion, we're working with cities. Cities are our client. They have cities that got like so many different problems, and they're facing those by themselves, like encouraging people to drive more public transportation, or encourage people to go and shop in an urban development area. And we help them through the currency, through the local currency, to encourage and incentivize people to do the things that they want them to do and achieve the city goals. In Israel, we work with Tel Aviv municipality, and we work with other cities in Europe and in the US, not using blockchain. And the reason for that is not because I'm not a believer, in what it is. I invest in blockchain companies. I advise blockchain companies. I'm a big believer in this space. It's because we started facing so many challenges in terms of tax, scalability, legal, all of those things, and we kind of put it on the side. But there is a small secret I would tell all of you just here. That we give cities also a physical card together with the app that we give them as a white label app. In Israel it's COLU, but outside of Israel it's a white label app for the cities. And the card itself is a cryptographic card that can connect to a server. They don't know that. So we would be able in the future to use the technology. So we kind of went underground, not selling blockchain, but true believers in this space and what it can provide to the world.
So it's pretty clear why you choose both of you in the blockchain and the cryptocurrency industry. And what is actually blockchain in your own words? I just heard that you said that you're not doing blockchain, but still, how will you describe the blockchain industry today?
I would say the following. We had many technological revolutions when we're dealing with information technology. There's three things that you can do with information. You can process information, you can transfer information, and you can store information. That's the three things. Processing information, what the brain does. Animals do that as well. Transferring information is what separates us from animals, because we can effectively transfer information by talking. And storing information is what separates us from hunter-gatherers, because we started to make records. So those are very, very important three things that we do with information. And the technology, information technology that started in the 50s and the 60s to catch on, it was exactly the same route. The first technology to process information is like breaking the Enigma code in World War II, and then networks that were invented, connecting computers, and then databases that actually allowed stored information for the computers that changed everything in the world. All the governments, all the banks, all the insurance. I mean, everything works on computers. Since the 60s, we've started that. And then the third cycle, exactly in the same order, was about standards. Not technology, but technology standards. The first standard, when I was 7, was the PC. The standard framework, a standard hardware framework that everyone can use, every Chinese can produce. And the IBM PC became the standard of all the computers in the world. Even Apple moved to that standard. So that was the first standard for information processing. Then there was many proprietary network, but then we built a standard for information transferring, which was the internet. And that was even a bigger change than the computer. So what's left? So we have a standard for information processing. We have a standard for information transferring. We need a standard for information storage. And that's blockchain. That's what it does. It completes the cycle.
Standards for transferring value.
I look at transferring value as one use case of transferring, of storing information. Because what we call today transferring value is a ledger. And the first database in the world, what do we do with the first database in the world? Back in the 60s, they were running ledgers on banks, just that. Because that's the first use case. When you can store information, if you look at the first time that people wrote information on something, they wrote ledger on tablets, not even on paper, on tablets in Sumeria. That is the most essential information. I mean, you have this many wheat packs, and I have this many wheat, and I can transfer to you, and someone will erase the number that I have and move it to your ownership. So I think that transferring value is just the most important initial use case of the ability to have a standard for a database. And when we're looking at the Ethereum, for example, today, it does a lot more than just transferring value. For example, it has a domain name service, a registry service, and you have many more examples like that. But when you have database that is not owned by anyone, that is a standard, and you can build stuff around it, then you don't get to have things like Facebook, or which is insane. One social network for the world owned by some kid. Not to mention Amazon, all the commerce, all the sellers and the buyers in the world go to some website owned by a single individual that collects. That's insane, and people start getting that this is insane. That's not going to go anywhere good. It's not good for them. It's not good for the consumer. But always in these cases, it's the standards that win. You know, who can even think of a single proprietary network today when we have a standard we call the internet?
So this world of blockchain today is in line with all the forecasting that you hear a lot of different things about this industry.
Don't believe anything.
Tell me something.
I mean, we get to hear about blockchain, and always when the price goes up and down, and like all those cycles, when the rate went down by 20%, it went up by 30% or whatever. And that's only what we hear about. What we don't see, and this is what maybe Eyal mean when we're in the industry and we've seen what's happening, it's the real innovation and the real value created by seriously millions of people working on that technology to advance the technology, just like we've done with the internet in the past. And I'm just so surprised. A year ago, I said, like, I have to get a break from this blockchain thing. So for half a year, I just took a break. I haven't read anything. I haven't met an entrepreneur in the blockchain. I couldn't hear this word. And I got back, after 6 months, and I was amazed. Like, I was like, you solved that problem? I can't believe it. Like, I was dealing with that problem for 2 years with the best engineers possible, but this is what happens when you know new people. So many smart people, when they have the incentive to solve problems because the value of the network is changing, then you get that progression and development with the technology. I was so excited about that when I got back into understanding where it is.
And I have a question actually for both of you. Do you still believe that the blockchain is changing the financial industry? How would you relate to content storage, financial issues?
So for me, it is like one of the companies, for example, who invested in us is the company that's printing all the physical cash in the world for all the central banks. So what we we see today is not just the FOMO of missing the train, but I actually started to see real implementation. I think for the first time, just in the past 6 months, like real implementations for actual users and actual businesses to use the technology.
I remember walking in Tel Aviv and saw little signs of cool, like pay with the digital wallets and everything, and
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. Just a little bit more than 6 months, like years ago, walking and saying, okay, what is this? And today, it's like every place you can pay. People are starting to use and understand how it will change your life. They start to get used to it. It's not like something to be afraid of anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I talk with a lot of wealth managers and family offices and stuff like that, and I think one of the things that in the first 5 minutes that I'm talking with them, I understand that, they don't hold any funds in crypto. For me, it sounds like really irresponsible. The reason that it's irresponsible is because I do believe that, for example, Bitcoin specifically is going to be the next store of value, and the rich people now might not be the rich people in the future if they're not going to get into this industry. So I usually help them, with understanding what it is. But yeah, it's starting to get into people's life. New York Stock Exchange started to trade in contract for difference and options on crypto. So
people are more open to that. They're not afraid anymore to use those things.
I'll tell you a story. Last week, I was in Switzerland for a meeting. And the meeting was with an Israeli banker that lives in Switzerland for many, many years. Very, very successful guy. I never met him before, but my partner had some conversation with him, and we arranged that meeting, and we met in this nice restaurant in Zurich. And the guy is he's like 70, I guess, 70 something. Very, very sharp guy, and he works with many, many family offices. Very senior. And he's coming to the meeting, and he's coming with his son. Bankers, it's always like that. He's coming with his son, and they're like Israelis, but they live there, right? They speak Hebrew and everything. And the guy's like, I'm so happy to meet you. And I said, yeah, me too. And I know that he's looking into going into business to do some stuff together. And I'm like, interested to hear what they have to say. And he's taking out of his bag, he's taking out literally the BANCOR white paper. Again, the 70-year-old banker. It's like taking that, I'm seeing on the white paper all those notes that you wrote. It's like, and saying, you wrote it? And I was like, yeah, I wrote it. Like 2.5 years ago, but I wrote it. And it's like, this is great. This is great. I think this could be so useful for the financial markets. It's like, good morning. That's been around for 2.5 years, and I'm looking for people to realize that this can be useful. But you should see the spark in his eyes when he's talking about something that for me is like such old news. It's like it's already past, no one cares anymore. But he's a banker, he discovers it right now, and he's all excited about it. And we had a conversation for a few hours about how we can use that and bring that to the market, to the financial markets in Switzerland, and hopefully that will have a good continuation and prospects. But it's to show that those processes takes a lot of time. They take a lot of time. He's coming with a white paper that is so old, and now he's thinking what he's going to do, that it's going to happen within 2 years.
It's also depends on the generation. The next generation will have to get those things. It will be much easier than this generation or a little bit more older people that don't get this technology.
Just to give you a sense of the infrastructure, okay? So I remember, back then, everyone were buying Bitcoins and holding Bitcoins in one exchange called Empty Box. It collapsed, and the money was lost. It was like a big thing, and a lot of, like in the news and all of that. And then there was another peak, and then you had like better exchanges, but still you had like fraud and like all those shady stuff. And you know, every peak and every time the price goes up, you know, you have more money injected into the community, into the market, and you have better tools, better infrastructure, and that's what built, you know, read the story of Mark Rishon on Netscape, and or talk with Eyal about how they started the internet, and you will see that those are the same, just the same challenges, and it will take even more time.
So what went wrong? And
Nothing went wrong.
process to implement these technologies.
Nothing went wrong. It's like, again, it happens the same in the internet. Everyone got excited. Everyone realized how big and amazing this thing at the same time. It's like a collective consciousness, if you will. It's like everyone is figuring it out. 99 is like, the world is like, oh my God, this internet is going to change everything. Let's buy every share, every stock with the word internet in it, because everyone is excited. And when everyone's buying at the same time, guess what happens? The prices go to the sky, and then they're like, okay, let's see, you know, what's happening with that. And then they realize that in order to really replace the infrastructure of world communication takes few years. And usually people don't have the patience, and then you see the drops, and people need the money. And it's not that just the drops. It's like when everyone's buying, then those who started the internet company, all of a sudden they see that they have shares, or you know, the first investors see that they have shares that are worth billions. They're like, I'm going to take some of this home. So that crashes the price. And it was the exact same thing. In 2017, you know, and I can tell you because I've been shouting blockchain, Bitcoin for 5 years, and no one cared. And in 2017, it's like all over the news, everyone's talking about it. I was like, I think I was one of the most wanted people to meet with. You know, in 2017. Today, no one wants to meet me. But back then, it's like, thank you. But it's like everyone, oh my God, blockchain, that's going to change everything. And everyone want to go and hop on the train because it's really exciting. It's genuinely exciting when you realize the prospect, especially if you're in technology and you kind of dig into that. So everyone buys on the same time, and all of a sudden, guys like Amos that probably, you know, filled their pockets with Bitcoin in 2000, I don't know, 12, 13, like nothing. They're like, oh my God, my Bitcoin is like worth like $10 million. You know, I should take some of it home. And there's not only one person like that. There's so many like that. So they do sell them. They do, and then the market crashed. And as that happens, those who didn't manage selling started selling. And those who bought, they get panicked and they sell. So you see this pattern, and it's a pattern that happens every time, and it's a great sign. It's a great sign because if there's such an excitement about the technology, it never happened for nothing. You cannot show me a bubble this size that was about nothing. It was always about the world changing.
Yeah, I was in some interesting conference, something in Phoenix, in Arizona. There was a guy there who started, I forgot the name of the company, something global, and he wrote the book about a very public IPO. This is the name of the book. And he basically raised in a day, like, you know, his booking for the IPO was always going up and going up, going up. He raised like tons of money. You know, ended up in the end with nothing, and basically came to talk with only CEOs of blockchain companies, part of a DCG meeting. And you know, he told the story, and it's just the same story of, you know, those big ICOs, just the same thing, you know, over and over again. And we know, you know, how it ends up with the internet. So I'm super positive.
So that leads me to my next question. Where do you see this world in 5 years? What will happen?
First of all, whatever we say, don't listen to us because we're probably wrong.
Because we're too early. So maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's do 10 years. We will take 7.
10 years. 10 years, you're not going to have those internet giants, I think, that you have today. we're not going to live in a reality dictated by Facebook. I mean, look at the top companies in the world by market cap. They're not going to be there anymore. I mean, to remind you, it used to be Microsoft, it used to be IBM, back when hardware were proprietary, was software proprietary, even AOL, back when networks were proprietary. They're not going to be there, but they're probably going to do well. Microsoft is doing well. They're just not a monopoly anymore. And I think that those monopolies of information services, as I call them, are going to end. And that's a good thing for the users and for the companies and for those who work in the companies. And I think that we will see that, it's like my kid today. When I was a young kid, every information technology that I used, information service, was by the government, and every communication service. That's what I want to say. My phone was from the government, my mail was from the government, the TV, the radio, everything was by the government. For my kid today, he's 11. He doesn't use any government services for communication, and he's using communication much more than I do. He just does it all over the internet. So the thing that government needed to provide to us back then with communication, we just don't need them anymore. They're still there. They have mail. They have channel 1 on TV. I mean, they have some radio station, but no one really needs that anymore. And I think we're going to see the same thing with blockchain. So today, what are the information services? Not communication services, but the information services that are provided by the government is banks, first and foremost. It's all kind of registries that whether it's ownership or citizenry or voting or all those things, we just don't need them for that anymore. We're getting into the day that the only thing that we'll need government for is for military, police, I guess, but we're just not going to need them for any information service because, we have technology that deal with that. You don't need millions of bureaucrats that doing it for you. And blockchain is, if you really think about it, is signaling the end of bureaucracy. The end of, because bureaucracy is all about signature and forms and transferring, and processes, and that's what blockchain does. That's what it can do. So I'm hopeful about that.
So for me, it's jump on what Eyal said. Like for me, I think it will take much more time. I always hate to predict what will happen in the future. Yeah. So first, I think that there is going to be a financial crisis. Okay, and that from financial crisis is going to be in the next year or two. Is going to be the start of that change that Eyal is talking about. Okay, so if a financial crisis is going to come in the next year or two, then it will be a process for me of around 7 years or something like that. That those giants, will evolve and change. Will not own the internet, and with that will come the need for decentralization and owning the data, owning my value. Being my own bank, all of those things will come after a crisis, just like Bitcoin started just like after 2008. So you need something big to happen in the world, like a big financial crisis, in order for such change to happen. So I'm like holding my horses till I see that.
So you
big.
want a crisis?
Yeah. I'm like yearning for give me crazy. No, I'm just it's a pattern. We didn't have, like I think it's one of the longest times in history that we didn't have a financial crisis. Just it's going to come.
Some say that all the crises were engineered. I don't know if that's true, but some people say that all the crises were actually engineered. And now maybe they don't want to engineer it because they know that everyone will go to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So let's not create another crisis.
I believe that everything is just another one of those. Ray Dalio of principle founded Bridgewater, talking about that, about those cycles. It talks also about the internet.
But you mentioned banks and the connection with banks. How do you see those connections with big banks today regarding the blockchain industry? How it goes together to the big banks in Israel?
I always say that my wife is not excited at all about Bitcoin, but she's very excited about Bit. And the reason that I think we have Bit...
She works in the bank?
No. I mean, she's using it all the time. She's like, oh my God, this is a life changer. You know, I can send money from my phone. It's like so great. And I think that the reason that we see things like that being accelerated is in big part because they see the alternative. They see that you know, that someone, a different technology would offer that as well. So you know, they're being pushed in the right direction to better consumer products, and I think that's the first order effect. But you know, to ask how Bitcoin will affect banks is like it's almost like to ask how the internet will affect media companies, if you will. And you know, it's a big effect. It changes the entire landscape, but it doesn't mean that they're going to die. You know, media companies adapted.
The last to adopt it, yes.
Yeah, they'll have to adapt.
But the last one,
They don't have to adapt.
they're like the
They don't
first
have any
ones of
choice
getting
in the
interested,
future.
but you know, they will be the
And
last to adopt.
what about the regulation? How do you operate in your own
It's fun.
companies?
So much fun.
Nah, I don't do that.
I hate talking to lawyers. It's something that I'm depressed every time that I talk to lawyers. So I have like you know, different people in the company that are, you know, they're listening to the company, to their lawyers, and then I'm just, you know, regulation is something that is needed definitely. You know, mostly in an industry where you have so much fraud, and you know, it's a new space, and there's so many people trying to jump on that ship and dealing with end
To be
consumers and all
open
that.
to those changes, in your opinion?
It really depends on, you know, which country, what is in their interest to change, or the big companies or banks supporting that. It's like it's a very complex word. I think that, you know, for example, the U.S. is not doing the steps needed in order to.
In Israel?
And Israel is much more
Open to that?
Yeah, much more, right? You've been in.
I didn't even tell you that, but we have re-implemented our product because we did the complete rewrite. And the complete rewrite we did is because I suffered just like you. It doesn't mix innovation and lawyers. You know, I tried it. It doesn't mix. It doesn't work. It was like
Work together.
it was a freaking disaster. Anyway, so we have a product where you know you can go to the, you know, and create your own token, and you know, and it has liquidity through BANCOR protocol and all that. So you saw the product, you know the field well. But we rewrote it in such a way that the product has a royalty engine inside it, which is kind of the profit that is being made. And we said, you know what? We're just writing the code. And anyone else in the world that want to operate it is welcome, and the license agreement is that we get a % of the royalties. So you can go and operate it, and they can go and operate it, and anyone can go and operate under their domain. We just write the code, and we are deserving royalties by the license agreement. So we actually rewrote our product, changed our entire business model, so I wouldn't have to talk to lawyers ever again. So I can say, I just publish code, you learn I collect royalties, don't leave me alone. I don't run any servers, any service. There's all those thousands of operators, they run the service, talk to them. It's seriously, it's like the worst thing ever. And I hope that this model, that we have a name for it, it's called D-Web, decentralized web, where we actually separate the technology development with the operation of the service to create specialties. Because think about it, the regulations are different in every country. So if you take our product for user-generated token and you run it in the United States, God forbid, or in Europe, or in other jurisdictions, you have to mind a different regulatory environment. Yeah, don't run it in the US. But you have to consider different regulatory environments. So it makes much more sense to us now that we decided to make that very bold move, and like, again, teach everything out the window and rewrite everything using best-of-breed technologies that are only available today, the modern blockchain technologies, to build it in such a way to separate people like us that are trying to remain creative from all those legalese regulations, just separate it. And that's probably the best thing I've did since I even got into this industry. I'm so, I mean, the reason I'm smiling is because we did that.
No, I was impressed for a year maybe talking to you.
It's awful.
It's like what you can do. You can do it. But I want to do it. This is like a very innovative thing. Well, it's good for the world.
It's good for the world.
Why someone is?
It's bad for you. You know, at some point, I swear to you, at one point, I told, and we're like a very senior lawyer, I told him, we're going to release that product, it was like 6 months ago or so. We're going to release that worldwide. I said, Eyal, don't do it. He said, we're going to do it, we're going to release it. I said, Eyal, they're going to put you in jail. Seriously, he told me, they're going to put you in jail if you do that. But it's revolutionary, it's changing the world. I don't care.
And then you need to go
you rather not change the world and not go to jail. And I had to be talked down from like, I don't know.
I get that.
You have kids, you have wives, you have families.
He doesn't want to be lawyers.
I get that also.
I made a good decision that I decided not to be a lawyer, I guess.
It's a good choice.
Being an entrepreneur. Thank you guys so much. And before we open this conversation to audience questions, something you would say to young entrepreneurs in the blockchain industry, just as an entrepreneur that want to develop their startups, the best tip you can give them, the winning tip that will change your path to success. Bring you more success. Think about it.
I would just say, for me, it's really like something that I found out by myself, which is resilient. It's like the toughest thing ever. Not everyone got it. I found it in myself. It took me some time, but really resilient. Like trying, understanding that you have these ups and downs. It's okay to be depressed one day, super happy the next day, and just understand with yourself how to live with that state, which is a state. It's not going to pass. It's not a period of time. It's the way you chose to do your, to live your life. It's just you're going to be that person that one day is full of energy and one day doesn't want to go out of bed. And this is something you need to choose, and you need to have the resilience to deal with it.
Thank you. Yeah.
I had a thought last week. I was told that one of our employees told my partner that he's thinking about starting his own thing. And you know what the first thought that came to my mind? That's great for him. He's woken. I mean, it's a kind of awakening. I mean, when people like, I can do my own thing. It's like, it's so scary. It's almost like, like Truman Show thing. It's like at one point it's like I'm just gonna go for it, and I don't care what will happen. And I think this is one of the bravest things that people can do. And that's why it's good to start young, because you're stupid to do this.
You can do all the mistakes.
But I think that being entrepreneur, meaning that you are serving your own goals rather than serving someone else's goals for the security that it provides you. And I think that if anyone has a doubt, you should just do it. Some people don't care, don't even think about it. Like my wife, for example, she She doesn't. And that's fine. That's fine. But if someone is even find that, you know, remotely interesting to do your own thing, to pave your own way, I mean, there's just nothing like it, and that you can only encourage.
I definitely agree with that. Thank you. And questions? Yes, please.
Well, I really find very interesting what you have said, and thank you for it. I just wonder, in other areas than financial, what's going on, like in medicine, in transportation, in military? What are they using now? Anything from this technology, or what do you think they're going to do?
Not now, but they will. You know, I only drive taxis for I think since BANCOR, I just used the time to work in the taxi, so I started to drive taxi. And as time goes by, you see that more and more taxi drivers are really complaining about the Get Taxi. They really hate them. Like, oh my God, it's a monopoly, they're screwing us. I think this is a great example of, again, centralization that blockchain can solve. Because, but it's not happening yet. I can see it happening in the future that, you know, taxi drivers, there's no reason that what connects passengers and drivers will be some single company, which is the monopoly. It just doesn't make any sense in today's world. So I think it's going to affect any information service that we know today is going to affect any centralized controlled entities that we see today. And, you know, just look at all the applications that you have on your phone, all the websites. I don't think that you'll find many examples that will not change because of blockchain. And I could do the same, you know, if we were here in year 2000 and, you know, personal computers were all over and software all over and people were using it, and I would tell you, look, everything that you're using on your computer today, it's all going to change because of the internet. Nothing is going to remain the same. It's just going to be new. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I probably wouldn't say that because I didn't thought about it, but it's the same thing. It's like there's nothing that it's not going to touch. And so it's as extreme, I can be as extreme as I can when I answer this question.
You have like a lot of different POCs and things, you know, that are just starting to form with medicine and, you know, records, etc. Lots of POCs, nothing that's really, you know, in the scale of consumers, etc. But, you know, we'll get it.
Thanks.
Any more questions?
Are you facing regulation regarding that this technology? You remind Facebook, Amazon, these monopoles that's raised in spite of the government. Okay, they are facing the government. Every government want to take taxes from them, and they are in a legal procedure. And in this blockchain technology,
it's even easier.
Huh?
It's even easier to collect tax.
In blockchain.
Yeah.
Okay, but what's now the regulation in Israel facing this currency or token?
Yeah, so I know the regulation like this. Seriously.
Please.
At least I'm using the time with the lawyers now. So in Israel, basically, there are different type of regulations in terms of tax. Like, you know, if you earn money from selling bitcoins, etc. If it's your business or you're a private person, it's like different regulations of tax. It's actually pretty advanced in terms of you know, clarity. For the rest of the world on different things. With tokens, for example, you know, there are pre-ruling and things that's happening with the tax authorities and how to deal with, you know, the money that you raise and all of that. So you have today regulation in Israel almost for everything on crypto. It's not the right regulation, in my opinion. but you have clarity as compared to 1 year ago that you had like nothing. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, please.
There was a question about regulations, and I think it's one of the challenges that all those cryptocurrencies are facing right now and will face in the future. The other one will probably be cyber security, I think. But if, from what I read, there is a trend of countries creating their own digital currency, then Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the individual cryptocurrencies will kind of vanish, and the real, if I'm an investor, I'd like to invest in the technology, not in the actual currency. Would you agree with this statement?
So I have a very controversial answer to that. I think that everyone, in my industry, and that's the most of the people in the industry that think that Bitcoin is going to become some kind of a world reserve currency are desperately wrong. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that it's a wishful thinking because people that have a lot of Bitcoin, they want that to be the only currency in the world, which make them the new Rothschild or something. So I can understand why they want to see that kind of future. I don't think that this is the future that we're going to see. I think that the reason that you even need currency in blockchain is because when we're talking about storing information, we talk about blockchain as a standard for storing information, then storing information has costs. It's not like transferring information. If I'm talking to you right now, there's no cost to that, right? But they take a video of that, and if we want to make that video stored and available forever, that's going to have some costs. So storing information has recurring costs because it has, and actually it requires something physical, if you will, whether that's a hard drive or tape or paper. Storing information has cost, while transferring information doesn't cost you anything. So you need to somehow fund the cost of storing the information, and that's why blockchain need tokens. So when we want to store information on the blockchain, we go to the open markets, we buy the token, and we use that to store the information there and to do all kind of transactions. But the people that are the miners and the block producers or whatever they happen to be called, they're doing the work of hosting this information, and anyone can be part of that group. And they're getting those tokens from the blockchain that they can sell in the free market in exchange for hosting it, and they're getting money from the people that's using. So it's actually a mechanism to transfer payment, if you will, to transfer value between the users of the blockchain and the hosters of the blockchain in a completely decentralized way, in a completely organic and beautiful way. So we need it for that. So if you think, oh, so many people are going to use that blockchain or this blockchain, so maybe the value of the token is going to go up. And it makes sense, maybe for someone to speculate on that. But from this mechanism to, oh, we're going to be the new central bank currency because we were the first, there's a big difference. There's a long distance. So I don't buy those visions at all. Myself, but I've been wrong before. I might be wrong.
I would just add one thing, that there is a big difference between the central bank issued currencies and what Bitcoin is or Ethereum is. It's totally different. It's like orange and apples. It's backed by, it's a very different mechanism. It's a different blockchain. Central banks want to control more centralized blockchain. Who's confirming the transactions, all that. So it's very hard to compare, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all those things that we know today to, what is Facebook is issuing or might issue, or other companies or other central banks. Is just a very, very different thing, and it's worth a whole, hours of conversation about the difference.
Yeah, I think one big difference that is very important to kind of keep in mind, and again, I think that people in my industry, they don't get it. By and large, they don't get it. that, if you talk to central banker, which I had the opportunity to do in Bretton Woods about 6 months ago, we had a panel with central bankers, and you hear the talk about cryptocurrencies and all that. They all have the same goal, to keep price stability. That's their big goal, price stability. This thing doesn't exist on Bitcoin. Look, 20,000, I mean, it's the complete
Just
opposite.
today it went down like 15% of the 20.
Yeah, I mean,
Today.
what are you talking about price? Now, people don't make the difference between a currency that is using to trade our labor, which is what central banks are issuing, the currency is, that price stability is the most important thing for that currency, because you don't want to get paid your salary and then you cannot afford, I don't know, paying the rent because the token drop. So that's an essential tool for human collaboration. That is one of the core services of any modern Western countries that, and the country is measured by the stability of its currency. If it's not stable, it means that the economy fails, basically, to something completely else, completely different, which is completely speculative. When we talk about Bitcoin or Ether, then it's speculative. People think, oh, so many people are going to use Bitcoin, so maybe the value will go up, so I'll buy Bitcoin, or so many people will use Ether. This is like buying shares. It's like buying stocks. I mean, I actually heard there was a startup that thought it was a great idea to let people pay in restaurants with their portfolio. So I'm going to use my Apple share to pay for that. That was a complete failure. People don't mix those two worlds. It's like I use that to collaborate with other people, to buy services, to sell, my labor, and I use those to speculate about the future. This is what
We had so many conversations about that, right? About the difference between speculation and
and collaboration. Collaboration, 100% of people do. Speculation, less than 1%. You're in that percent. I never speculate in anything. We're different in that regard. I didn't care about speculation. I don't try to predict the future of some asset, but some people are very good at that, and they make a lot of money out of that. It's a profession. But to think that those two mix seems like the most elementary, basic error you can do when you even try to figure out the space.
Just to give you a small example about that, which is like from real life. So we gave in the first, we have like hundreds of thousands of users just in Tel Aviv. Like a quarter of the population in Tel Aviv is using the app. We gave people a currency that changed in value based on the use of the network, basically. And people were like, what the fuck is that? Like, how am I going to use it? Why is it changing in value? Like, I want to buy my coffee. Like, what are you giving me? So of course we changed that and it's civilized and all that. But that was a real task with real people. With so many crazy stuff, like giving people private keys and like.
Thank you. Thank you, Amos. Thank you, Eyal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Startup Grind family, for that. And I would like to invite an entrepreneur. I would like to invite Ruth. אפשר להוריד?
אוקיי. אגב, הסיבה בכלל שדיברנו אנגלית זה כמו שאתם רואים זה מצולם, אנחנו מעלים את זה בכל הקהילה שלנו בעולם. יחד איתכם, יראו את זה בדיליי, עוד ככה וככה מיליוני יזמים.
אני שמחה ואפילו קצת מתרגשת כי אנחנו מאוד, אני באופן אישי וגם כאן מאוד מעודדים יזמים ויצירת קשרים ונטוורקינג וחשיפה בעיקר. ואני שמחה להזמין לכאן את רעות שתציג את המיזם שלה ותספר עליו. בבקשה.
אני אדבר בעברית, ותכף יהיה סרטון באנגלית. תמיד יש לי כזה קושי איך להציג את המיזם. זה נקודה שלא מעט יזמים שומעים אותי. זה נקודה שלא מעט יזמים מתלבטים בה. תמונה אחת שווה 1,000 מילים, אז אני אגיד מה זה הדבר הזה שאני עושה, ואז יהיה יותר הרבה יותר ברור מהסרטון. ואיך זה התחיל? הייתי בחתונה לפני איזה שנתיים. לפני שהחברה התחתנה, בעלה הוא יהודי אמריקאי, הוא בא לגור בשבילה בארץ, ורצינו בחתונה להפגיש בין הבנות הרווקות, נגיד בישראל, לכל הרווקים שבאים מחו"ל. ורצינו כזה כלי מהיר לחבר, היינו בטוחים שיש ולא מצאנו. ומכל לשם אמרתי, אני הולכת להרבה אירועים וסדנאות ומפגשים, ואין לי איזה משהו זמין שמפטר לי את כל האנשים בצורה מאוד מאוד מהירה. ואז אמרתי, ובדקתי, אמרתי, אוקיי, יש גם הרבה שעושים אירועים.